Good morning, everybody. Today, what I wanted to do is introduce our next assignment, which I call the Tokidoki Assignment. We're departing a little bit from the handout that I've made available on my website, and that I want you to design exclusively 3 skateboard decks. Don't worry about t-shirts or any other products. So anyway, let's start with that. So what I want to do is let's first show you the handout so you can see where it's located. So I'm going to go to my handouts page and I'm going to scroll down, and here's the Tokidoki assignment. Now, where I got the name Tokidoki, inspired skateboard deck, don't worry about t-shirt or purse or anything else, is that it was from Simone Legno's Tokidoki line of products. And I have a video, a YouTube video for you, for your inspiration, to inspire you. So this is the basic handout. Now, you don't have to print because we're not in class anymore. You just submit PDF or preferably an Illustrator file. Put it on Google Drive, or if you don't have access to Google Drive, then put it on Canvas, I guess. Anyway, you need to know where to find templates, and because there are different shapes for skateboard decks. So to do that, I provided one. This is that typical one here, and you can go ahead and you can download this page and use it as a guide. Okay. And I have t-shirts and other things. Just ignore the t-shirts, ignore the sweatshirts, ignore the box. Just focus on the skateboard deck itself. Now, as I mentioned, there are other examples of templates. So what I did, and you can do this too, is just simply do a Google search. And I put in skateboard deck templates. So let me go back so you can see. Let's go back again. I just typed in skateboard deck templates, and then with the Google, I clicked on images, and we have tons of them. So if you scroll down here, you can see that here's the one that we're using here. That's also here. So that's the predominant template used for skateboard decks, but you're not limited to that. Okay. So simply, if you're not familiar with downloading images from Google Drive, simply click on the one that you want. So let's say that we want this one. And then what I want to do is this is a little over 9,000 by 2,700 pixels. That's a good size. So I'll right click on it. And what I want to do is I want to save image as. And then find a place on your hard drive and save it. And it will probably be a JPEG file, and then you'll be set to go. Okay, so you use that as a guide. And what I want to show you today, so I'll go ahead and I'll put it in there, skateboard deck. Template. Because we haven't used templates yet. So I'm going to save this right now on my desktop, right here. There we go. I'm going to go ahead and save it. So I downloaded that, so I'm good to go. And again, there's lots of examples here for templates. Now, insofar as what the design can look like, it is open-ended. There's lots of examples. So what I'm going to do first is I'm going to show you examples of what prior students have done. Right, so I'm going to scroll back up. And let's go back. And I'm going to go up to Kirk's classes. Scroll down. And here, I'm going to jump over to, there we go. This one right here. So we'll start with this one. So here's a good example that Jenny Ham did a few summers ago. And she chose to do it as a template, or as a, what am I saying? Not as a template, as a triptych, okay? So that on each one of the skateboard decks, you see only a portion of the entire design. She also chose to embellish the background to make it, I think, enhance the presentation. And it works really, really well. This is one of the nicest ones that I've seen. Okay. Really beautifully executed and great concept. And all of these 3 skateboard decks need to fit somehow on 11 by 17, which is also called tabloid size format. Okay. So I'll go to the next one. This is one that Richard Mallory did. Okay. Again, he only did 2, but they were very complex, much more illustrative and less design oriented, kind of variations on a thing. So it's not a diptych, they can be displayed individually. So that would be an option for you too. They can be more illustrative, or if you prefer, more design oriented. And I'm going to show you examples that are on sale. The type of skateboard decks that I'm encouraging you to design are more of an artistic nature, that are used for, to be displayed on a wall rather than to actually be used. Okay, so here's another good example. Here's one that's kind of fun that John Park did a couple of summers ago. And so he chose a vertical format, but each one of these is distinctly different. Some humorous, well, they're all kind of humorous. One other thing that I want you to do when you're designing your skateboard decks is to be sure and incorporate type somewhere. And this will be due not this week, but a week from, well, next week, the end of next week. Okay, so those are 3 good examples. Now, some of the other examples that I have here is if we switch back over here, and again, I just did a Google search of decorative or artistic skateboard decks. So let's look at a few examples here. And you can see here's one. This is typically how these are displayed. This is an example that sold that's, I don't know that it was designed by Jean-Michel Basquiat, but it incorporates some of his images. And again, it's similar to the first one that I showed you that is displayed as a triptych. Okay, so that's another good one. There are skateboard decks that are based on, whoops, I can't open that, I'm sorry. That would be Andy Warhol. Why I can't open that, I don't know, but I'm going to switch to this one by Keith Haring. He was a prominent artist of the early 80s and sadly died of AIDS, just as Jean-Michel Basquiat died, I believe, of drug overdose. And you can see that this could be construed as a triptych. It's unique to his style, just as Jean-Michel Basquiat's was unique to his style. So there's lots and lots of options here. I don't want any of this. Let's go back here. Some of these are photographic. I don't want you to do that. I don't know if you're familiar with the street artist. Okay, we go. Let's look and see if we have some here. I'll click on here and see if we can see it a little bit larger. No, it's not going to allow us to see it that big, so I have to go back. Okay, so this is the one here. It's not photographic, but it appears to be. So that's another good example. Again, there's tons of them. So they can be done as a triptych. They can be done individually. This is kind of a nice one that was based on early Japanese prints. Really very nice. So there's lots of them to find. So for templates and for examples, you have the ones by my student and also the ones that you can simply do a Google search to find. Okay. So 3 of them. Now, how to get started. So what I want to do is I'm going to switch to Illustrator. And I'm going to create a new file. So I'm going to go File, New. And this is going to be for print, even though we're not printing. And the size that I want it to be is 11 by 17. So we're going to pick vertical. And I'm going to switch from, I'm going to make sure that it's in inches. I don't want letter size. I'm going to put in the tabloid size, which width would be 11 inches and the height would be 17. So why I'm not seeing other examples, I'm not sure. So I'm going to go ahead and put in 17. So tabloid size is 11 by 17. And it could be, again, you can do it either vertically or horizontally. It really doesn't matter. And I'm just going to create one to start with, one artboard, and that's it. So I'll click OK. So there's my artboard. So if you work as I do, typically I like having an extra artboard to be able to add and to put extra material. So I'm going to set that aside. And now what I need to do is I need to bring in a template to use as a guide. And I will also show you I won't display it today, but it will be there for you to view, is that there is a demonstration by Simone Lagno on how he put together his skateboard deck. It's a whole series of interviews with him by Linda Wyman. So we'll look at, I'll show you where that is shortly. It should be on Canvas. So what you need to do is, and we haven't used this yet, is we need to have layers visible. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to place, so that's importing a JPEG or GIF or Photoshop file or whatever, something other than an Illustrator file. I'm going to go ahead and select place. And where I saved that template was on the desktop. So I'm going to go to desktop. And let's see, here's my skateboard deck template. That's the last one that I used. It's only 8K. And now I get the little widget here that says that, asks me where I want to place it. So I go ahead and I just click. And it's huge, possibly. So this can be any size that we want. So remember, if you want to rotate this, increments of 45 degrees, and hold down the Shift key. And so now I have it here that's it's perfectly vertical, which is a nice way to work. If you find it easier to work horizontally, then by all means. And now what I want to do is I'm going to enlarge it. So Shift Option or Option Shift, and I'm just going to make it nice and big. It'll be easier for me to work with. And place it anywhere, because remember, we're making 3 of them, and every time I complete one, I'll just set it aside. And if you need more than 2 artboards to get you started, then that's fine. But I want this to be used only as a template. I don't want to accidentally draw on it. So there's the tail, and there's the nose. So now what I need to do is I need to turn this into a template layer. To do that, I double click on the layer. Actually, before I do that, I'm going to name it template. There we go. And after I've named it, I'm going to double click on here. And I get the layer options panel that comes up. What I want to do is I want to click on the box that says template. And that does several things. Number one, it shows the image. It locks the image. And it prevents it from printing by default. And it dims the image to 50% so that it doesn't get in the way of my drawing. So when I click OK, notice that it kind of tinted back a little bit. And you can see that it's automatically locked. So I'm using that simply as a guide. So now what I need to do is I need to create a new layer on top of that, and I'll name it drawing. Now, if I needs to be skateboard 1 or 2, however you want to organize it based on the lessons that we've done, we can do that. Because maybe you want an art board for each deck, and then you can assemble them into one 11 by 17 format when you're all done. So probably the first thing that I want to do to define this is to create the outline of my skateboard. And then I can create a library of elements to put inside it. So now I can use the pen tool, which we will be covering this week. I could use the curvature tool. And I can also try to use, let's go ahead and try and just use a rectangle. Okay. So I'm going to go ahead and click and drag, like so. It's really up to you. Remember, there's multiple ways of doing this. So I want to make sure that I have the right proportions. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to go back to the default white fill and black stroke, but I don't want a fill so that I can see through it. So I'll select the fill, and then I'm going to click this little box right in the lower right-hand corner to make sure that it's transparent. And I'm going to resize it just so that it fits nicely. Click on these little widgets. And if this doesn't work for me, then I'll try something else. You know, it's up to you. Now this might be snapping to something here. There we go. Well, let's move this down a little bit. And now what I want to do, let's go ahead and click here. I goofed something up here. There we go. So now let's go ahead and work with the corners and pull it in so I get that configuration. Now, if I want to further edit this, because notice that it's not a perfect half circle here. If I want to get really finicky with it, I can do that. So let's go ahead and fix that first. But for right now, I think I'm just going to leave it as is. And if you want, you can also turn off that background layer. So now I have my template into which I can place everything. And remember, you can, in the very end, you can use copy paste to paste inside so that you don't see the contents of your design outside of the shape of the skateboard deck. Okay. Whatever needed, I can turn this back on. I can select using the direct selection tool, and I can proceed to edit this. Now I'm going to go to view, and this is something that I may have to do. I have smart cards, but it says snap to pixel. Maybe I don't want it to snap to the pixel. Sometimes that will inadvertently get in the way. So I'm going to go ahead and click on here again. And I'm going to move this in just a little bit. And that works a little bit better. And then what I can do is I can click on here and move that over just a little bit. Notice that it's not working for me. So I'm going to leave it as is. I'm going to go back to the way it was. And if it gets disconnected like mine is, notice how only one half works. And we'll learn more about this Wednesday and Thursday. And I'm going to use the convert tool. And I'm going to click and drag and pull this back out again. There we go. So that they are connected once again. Come back and we're good to go. Let's try this again. Let's go ahead and click here and move it down so that it does fit the size of our skateboard deck. Okay. Now, what I could also do, now another option for me would be, maybe I want to use the curvature tool. So I could try that as an option for me. So I could come in here and I could click here. And notice how I can reconfigure this to get this to work. So let's reconfigure that. Let's move this one in here and reconfigure that a little bit so that it fits the curve. And it's, you know, it's just not working for me. So if it doesn't work for you, undo it and go back. So, you know, I'm not having the success that I was hoping for to reconfigure this in the way that I wanted it. So another way to do this would be, I'm going to go ahead and set this aside. I'm having troubles again with my computer this morning. So let's come back here. So I'm going to select this and move it aside. And in the past, if you were to watch the Tokidoki video, which I'm hoping all of you will watch, another way to do this is to use the pen tool. So what I could do is I could come up here and I could click and drag, and that pulls out the tangent handles. Now I can come up here and notice how I'm getting a preview of where the path is going to go. Now I can click and I can move down here and I can click. So, and then I can click here. And I'm going to click and drag until that fits the underlying curve. And I'm going to move up here and click again until that fits. I'm going to click up here. That fits. And I'm going to click over here and drag until it fits the corner. So this is kind of old school, but you notice I'm having more success with it than I did with the other technique. So I can come back down and I can move this over just a little bit. And I'm going to zoom in one more time, just so that I can perhaps get a little bit better feel for this. Let's try this again. Click here. Move this over like so. So it fits the template that we created. And I can go ahead and I can, you know, be a little bit more precise with this and move it up. And it's fitting really nicely. Much better than what I had done before. So there's, you know, still reason to use the pen tool, even though it hasn't been deprecated, but it is a little bit less important than it used to be. But that fits very nicely. So notice the configuration, the shape. But if you want to, you know, create your own custom shapes, that would be okay too. So that's the how to find a template, how to use a template. And notice if you need multiple drawing layers, use multiple drawing layers. That will be important for you. Okay. But I do encourage you to use, and you can only have, well, you can have multiple template layers, but I recommend that you only have one. And then when you're done with it, you can remember, you can always turn it off because it doesn't print anyway. And then you're set to go. So you can see that there is just a slight difference in the configuration between these two. There we go. So that's fundamentally how you get started. And then, you'll have maybe on a piece of paper or be inspired by a photograph that you've done or a drawing to create your design. Now, the video that I was talking about is if you go to Canvas, here's my Canvas page, and we go to modules. And we scroll down to our Tokidoki. You can see right here where it says Tokidoki Assignment. I'm going to click here. And I'm hopeful that it has. This should have the link to Simone Lanyo's. Nope, misspoke it. I misspoke. Let me go back. So I'm going to go ahead and close that. And let's do that again. I closed something that I shouldn't. So I'm going to pause this for a second. And I'm going to come back and find it. So I'm back again. And unfortunately, I think Canvas has disallowed me to have as many videos as I would like to have have there. So what I'm going to do today is I'm going to record, if it's still there, the Tokidoki interview with Simone Lanyo, and specifically show you his approach to designing his skateboard deck. Okay, that's pretty much it for me today, though. So unless you have any questions, let's see who is here earlier. I have, yeah, Karina, are you still here? Do you have any questions for me, Karina?
No questions.
Is it pretty clear what you guys need to do?
Yes.
Okay, that's all I need to know. Okay, I'm gonna end my demo now, if you want to call it my lecture or my introduction to the next assignment. And then tomorrow I'm going to start working on the pen tool. So that will be my lecture for tomorrow, doing lesson 7. Okay. Okie doke. So that's it for me. I'm going to go ahead and say goodbye. And I'll see everybody tomorrow. Okay. Okie doke. Thank you so much. And if you have questions, feel free to email me or attend one of the webinars, and we'll go ahead and try to clear things up if there are any issues that you might have. So I'm going to go ahead and stop recording.